Nemo Radio is on the air.
A, B, C. A, always B, B, C, closing. Always be closing. Always be closing.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only. Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
Hey, it's John Nemo. Welcome back to another episode. And I wanted to talk today about a key topic that really impacts your ability to be successful when it comes to generating leads on LinkedIn. And that is this. What is the most effective way to follow up with a lead on LinkedIn? You see so many people that they get that initial interest or someone's initially interested to talk on LinkedIn, and then the person goes quiet or starts ghosting, and you get frustrated. You do the generic, hey, just checking back, just circling back, just bumping this up in your inbox, and you know and I know that those methods don't work. So I'm going to share my most effective ways to follow up with a lead on LinkedIn. And as you've probably noticed by now, we're in the midst of a series here on the podcast where I'm sharing different chapters from the completely revised, updated, and expanded version of my best-selling book, LinkedIn Riches. So if you haven't figured that out by now, that's where today's content is coming from, as it has in the past several episodes. I'm going to share a chapter from the book, LinkedIn Riches, How to Use LinkedIn for Business, Sales, and Marketing. In the show notes, if you want to get the actual physical copy of the book, there's a paperback print version. You can get a Kindle version, and also you can get an Audible version, the full audiobook too, if you don't want to have to wait for each episode or go back, through just one chapter at a time here on the podcast. So without further ado, let's dive in now to what I've really found to be the best ways to follow up with leads on LinkedIn. Chapter 9. What's the most effective way to follow up with a lead on LinkedIn? Well, the fortune, as they say, is in the follow-up, and LinkedIn is no different. So when it comes to following up with leads on LinkedIn, the key I have found is really standing out from the crowd. So also to clarify, when I say a lead on LinkedIn, again, as I define it, that's someone who has already said yes to you in some capacity, whether it's wanting to check out your free content, wanting to learn more, wanting to talk to you live, etc. So what's great about LinkedIn is that there's really infinite ways that you can separate yourself from everyone else. So I don't want you just sending those, just following up or just checking back in or just bumping this back up in your inbox. Don't do those generic chase messages that A, everyone hates, and B, everyone ignores. So I like to personalize and surprise. So again, once someone's interested and says yes, the follow-up is where we want to get more personal because that's going to, build that rapport and move things forward. So first place, as I've already mentioned earlier, that I like to start is look at someone's LinkedIn profile page. Look for something personal you can sprinkle into a follow-up note. The earlier examples I already shared, look at where someone lives, where they went to school. You can also look at recent content they've posted, if they list volunteer activity, awards, accolades, accomplishments, any of that. I will then, use those to kind of sprinkle in a personalized piece, and I'll also layer in my own personality so that it's very conversational. So I'm not just doing a follow-up like, hey, just checking back, did you have a chance to read the ebook? To go back to an example from earlier, if I have a prospect who lives in Chicago, Illinois, who said yes to my free ebook, but maybe hasn't responded with the thoughts, here's how I'll do it. I'll first think about, well, what do I know about Chicago, Illinois? What's been my own life experience with it? Is the city in the news for any reason? Are the local sports teams in action right now? Is there something about Chicago itself that I can mention, maybe about me wanting to visit it or my family? So below are just a few examples of how I would, put that into a follow-up message. Again, I'm doing this after someone has said yes, but hasn't written me back about the free content. Or, so I want to try to get that conversation moving. So I'll say, something like, again, if I want to go the sports route, my apologies, name. Just remembered you live in Chicago. If you're a Bears fan, you likely need some emotional support right now after Sunday's debacle, right? Because the Bears, as we know, have probably lost another game. Sorry, Chicago Bears fans. It's true, though. And then I'll say, the rest of the messages, I'll say, football watching aside, did you have a chance to check out my ebook over the weekend? I'm on pins and needles over here. And I'll do like a laughing emoji. So again, just a very simple 3 lines. Start with a joke about the Chicago Bears. hey, aside from that, did you have a chance to check out the ebook? And then I'll make a joke like I'm on pins and needles, waiting with bated breath for your response. Because that's my personality, is to crack jokes and be funny. Another example might be this. Just thought of you, Sally, or whatever their name is. Just thought of you. My wife and I were talking about summer vacation ideas last night, and Chicago came up. What would you recommend for a family with 3 crazy boys under the age of 10 to really get the, quote, full Chicago experience? Now, in this second example, I wouldn't even mention the ebook. The reality is you don't have to do this every time. So if you're sending multiple follow-ups, you don't have to and P.S., what are your thoughts on blank? They know, they remember, oh, yeah, this is John Nemo, the guy that sent me the ebook. So in those personal follow-ups, you don't have to mention every time the work piece. Sometimes you can leave out the business conversation and just do something personal. Sprinkle it in and test it and see. The reality is they're going to remember. They'll reply about the personal thing and they'll say, oh, yeah, and by the way, I haven't gotten to the book yet. It's on my to-do list or something like that. So some more examples for this to kind of help you crystallize it. Is understanding that you can, maybe look at their profile and see some content they recently posted. Maybe their kid just graduated college. Maybe they just won an award at work. Maybe they posted on LinkedIn that they got to travel to a tropical location, for a conference or something like that. So then you could send a one-on-one follow-up message that says, hey, insert the name. Great post about your son finishing school. What a great accomplishment. I can see how proud you are in the photo. Or if they won an award, you might say, hey, Sally, notice you just won XYZ award. Nicely done. I hope you got a raise too, like in a laughing emoji. Or if they went to a tropical place, you could say, hey, insert name. Just saw your post about getting to travel to Florida for work. Given it's currently negative 13 degrees here in Minnesota, please stand outside and tell me if the sun and heat still exist, right? So I'm using real personalized kind of conversational follow-ups. In these examples, I'm not even mentioning the, quote, work piece or the ebook piece. I'm just sending a personal note. And again, people love this because it shows that you're not just automating your follow-up. You're not just a bot. You actually looked at what's going on in their real life. This is the beauty of LinkedIn and social media. Is people will tell you what they're doing. People will tell you about their favorite topic on earth, which is themselves. You just need to comment on it and ask about it. If you were to write me and say, you want me to respond on LinkedIn, just put Pearl Jam in there or hockey or the Minnesota Vikings. And I can't help myself. I'm going to reply, right? Hey, John, I was really hoping to get your thoughts on blank. Sorry about the Vikings. And I'll be like, well, let me tell you about the Vikings, So anyway, the idea is talk about something personal to them. And again, I'm making it conversational, casual, fun. It's really about finding your own voice and writing like you talk or text. Casual, conversational, simple. Also super important, keep it short and sweet. Now, another thing I've learned, great quote from Will Smith. I think it's from his book, his autobiography, but humor is undefeated. If you can make people laugh, you will always have an audience. You will always have engagement. Everyone loves to laugh, correct? Even the most professional people out there, just because someone has an important job or an important sounding role, or they're a doctor or a lawyer or a financial advisor or whatever, you'd think of the traditionally stiff professions, they have not relinquished their humanity. They still laugh. They still watch comedies. They still laugh at jokes. Now, I will say this. If humor is not your thing, then don't deploy it. You've got to be comfortable in your own skin. You've got to know how to read the room. And you've got to know what's the right type of humor to share on LinkedIn. Now, I don't think I need to say this in an ebook for grown adults, but just in case, do not use humor that would be considered crass or crude or rude or poor taste. Obviously, avoid topics like politics, religion, sex, other taboo things. Just keep it simple, keep it safe, stick to very normal humor. Again, when in doubt, I always go with self-deprecation, because if I can make fun of myself, and listen, as you know by now, there's plenty of material to work with, it signals to the prospect that I have a healthy sense of humor and healthy self-esteem. Plus, if I'm making fun of myself, there's no danger in that. If you try to poke fun at a prospect, they may take it the wrong way. They may take it, as an offense. Again, especially if you're writing these messages, these follow-ups, they can't hear tone, they can't hear thoughts, they can't read your face. So be careful with humor. You've got to deploy it the right way. Now, with that in mind, I'm going to share a couple of humor-based examples I love to use in LinkedIn follow-up. Now, as of this recording, LinkedIn lets you add animated GIFs and emojis to messages. I'm a huge GIF person, GIF. If you don't know what GIFs are, boomer. That's for my older crowd. You boomers, I'm one of you. If you don't know what animated GIFs are, they're these funny images where it's a small little snippet of, a video clip or an action. So it'll be somebody doing something funny and then it'll just keep repeating itself. It's called an animated GIF. So if a prospect has been ghosting me for a long time, they've been ignoring all my personalized follow-up messages, I'll oftentimes send an animated GIF and some text. One of my favorite GIFs that I like to use, there's a great one of Mr. Bean, the British character. I think his name is Rowan Atkinson. If you know Mr. Bean, there's a hilarious movie. He's just kind of a goofball, safe, comedic presence. There's an animated GIF of him that you can find online if you just enter in the term. There's GIF search engines or whatever. It's like Mr. Bean waiting, right? And he's checking his watch. He's looking at the sky. He's sitting on the ground. He's pulling out grass. He looks super bored, just exasperated. So I'll send that animated GIF through the LinkedIn messaging system. And, I'll just say something really funny like, this is me right now waiting to hear your thoughts on the ebook. And then I'll do a laughing out loud emoji. Another GIF I love is from a classic, of course, 1980s movie Caddyshack. Oh my gosh, I just laugh even thinking about all the lines from that movie that I quote. But Ted Knight's character, Judge Smales, there's a great GIF from Caddyshack where, Judge Smales is just all exasperated and he says to the camera and then the words flash over it, well, we're waiting, right? So I will send that animated GIF and I'll say, sorry, I couldn't resist. This is one of my all-time favorite GIFs. Dying to know your thoughts on the ebook, right? And I'll do a laugh out loud emoji. And oftentimes that will get a response because it's funny, it's humorous, it's kind of a pattern interrupt for people. Another one I might do if I want to use real life authentic imagery is I've got, of course, a ton of photos of my dog. Like any pet owner has infinite amounts of photos of your dog and cat on your phone. As a dog fanatic, Rosie the dog and I have a little routine. I love to walk her every single day. So she will come if I haven't, offered her the walk, and she will literally stare at me and she'll do her puppy dog eyes, or she'll even put her head on my recliner chair or my office chair and just stare at me. And of course, I've got photos of this, of her just looking at me with these pleading eyes, like, please, right? So I'll send out of the blue this prospect a one-on-one message with the picture of Rosie doing her puppy dog eyes. And I'll say, hey, first name, this is what Rosie the dog does when I don't respond to her request for a walk. Should I stand vigil like this outside your LinkedIn inbox until I hear back about the ebook, right? And then I'll do a laughing emoji. And again, I'm just trying out some humor. And in this case, with Rosie, I'm sharing a little personal touch, photos of my dog. Maybe that person's a dog owner and they'll love it and they'll totally get it and they'll respond about how their dog does the same thing. So that's a great way to try to build in, a little bit of humor and fun. Now, word of warning, anytime you use humor, right, you have to know that sometimes it can backfire. Somebody might consider it unprofessional or annoying or whatever else. And so they may even say that in their reply. And listen, if and when that does happen, take it as a sign, at least I do, the person would not have been a good fit for me anyway as a client. If you can't have a good laugh, and more importantly, if you can't appreciate the utter cuteness of Rosie the dog, we probably shouldn't work together. So again, if you're doing appropriate humor, fun humor, it's in line with your personality. If somebody gets offended or upset by it, just move on. Just be like, all right, well, they were not going to be a good fit anyway. Now, I will say this. If, like anything else, if it becomes a trend and you see lots of your quote-unquote humor-based follow-up messages backfiring right and left and lots of criticism, then I would pay attention and I would do something else. If you get multiple people saying the same thing, then you're like, okay, wait a minute, maybe this is off color or I'm missing the mark here. I will say this, no matter what you do on LinkedIn, no matter how permission-based you are, how polite you are, how professional sometimes you try to be, some people are just grumps, or they're having a bad day, a bad week, a bad month, maybe a bad life. And they're just taking it out on the nearest available target, which is you. So the key thing I learned, as I said earlier, in business, especially sales, was don't take it personal. It's not about you. And don't take your personal needs for validation, affirmation, being like, don't take those to work. Don't take them to LinkedIn. Don't let strangers validate or invalidate you. Look for the people that love you. For me, I'm getting my validation from Jesus, my guy. I'm getting it from my family. and I'm not, then that way when people write me back in 72-point font, F off, right? As I told that story earlier, I don't have to take it personal and let it invalidate me. So laugh it off, keep moving forward. When we're talking as well about personalizing your follow-up on LinkedIn, there are some really cool features that take it to another level that can really help you stand out from the crowd. And I call this really putting yourself into the palm of your prospect's hand. So as of this recording, the LinkedIn mobile app has a few really cool features that help you with follow-up messaging. First and foremost, if you open up the LinkedIn mobile app on your phone and you go into your message inbox, you go to a certain prospect that you're talking to one-on-one, maybe they haven't been replying to you, you can literally on the spot on your mobile device record an audio message and send it directly through the LinkedIn mobile app. You can also record a selfie style video message right inside the LinkedIn mobile app and send it directly one-on-one to the person. So think about from a prospect point of view, they've been getting some text messages or 99% of their inbox is text. Now this audio file shows up or this video file shows up with your smiling face. Out of curiosity, people are going to play it. They're going to be like, whoa, that cave person brain they have is going to go, this is unusual. This is unique. This is different. What is this? Is it a threat? Is it cool? Is it new? I better check this out. Curiosity will get the better of them. They will play your audio file or they will play your video message. Now, as I said, very few people are doing that, so it'll really help you stand out. The other reason I love this approach, and again, I'm doing it only with targeted prospects. If you have 25 people that said yes to your ebook, if you want, you can do a quick audio or video follow-up with each person. Great, you don't have to. Pick people that you really want to convert, you really want to get a conversation going with, who look like an ideal lead. Go the extra mile, try a personal video, try a personal audio drop, and see if that doesn't move the needle. The reason I love this is visual and verbal communication are the best way to build rapport and trust online. I mean, next to being in the room talking live face-to-face, nothing works better online, especially to build trust and familiarity, than seeing somebody, looking them in the eye, hearing their voice. It works better than writing because, again, the human psychology of being able to talk and respond to each other verbally, non-verbally, hear the tone of voice, hear the passion, hear the humor, hear the excitement. In addition to, you can talk directly to the prospect in these audio or video messages. So you can say, hey, it's John Nemo. Joe Smith, so excited to connect with you, blah, 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 blah. Like you can literally talk about them personally. You can insert questions or icebreakers into the video message. You can do what I've talked about earlier and say, hey, Joe Smith, John Nemo here. Isn't this cool, this LinkedIn feature? Anyway, I see you live in Chicago. Apologies in advance if you're a Bears fan. That game Sunday was brutal. Sorry, dude, I'm a Vikings fan. You can see here in the background my Victor the Viking statue. Anyway, wanted to follow up on the ebook. I know I sent that to you last week. If you had a chance to check it out, I'm over here on pins and needles, man. Don't leave me hanging. And then I'll laugh and then send the video. So that's an example where, and again, I've got different scripts and templates you can work from in the bonus training. So if we go to linkedinriches.com/bonus, you can opt in and get the online training course with all the walkthrough videos and scripts of how to do this on the LinkedIn mobile app. But again, some of it might be, if I have a more generic one that I want to use with someone, hey, first name is John Nemo, just want to put a face with the name and say hello. Hey, do you ever use video messaging like this on LinkedIn? It's really cool, isn't it? Anyway, wanted to say hi. Also super excited to hear your thoughts on my ebook. In addition, I was looking at your profile and I noticed A, B, and C. That is so cool. How has that gone for you? Last thing, I'm really excited for your thoughts on the ebook because we've actually had a ton of success with people just like you implementing this. So definitely, if you haven't checked it out, please do. Let me know what you think. So again, you're kind of personalizing that follow-up. The beauty of these audio or video messages is it only takes 30 to 45 seconds to record. I don't think as of right now you can even do more than 60 seconds anyway. But you get the best of both worlds. You get to send kind of a face-to-face, personalized follow-up to a prospect without having to leave your desk, without having to leave your office. You can do it from anywhere with your mobile phone. You can do it at scale, right? You can knock these out in your inbox, just go through one message after another. If it's on the same topic, the same ebook, you can quickly kind of personalize it, look at each person's profile, hit the message button, and fire off a video. The most important part of these videos, I will say, or audios, is that they're actually personal and feel authentic. And the reason I say that is there's a lot of fakery out there. There's a lot of AI tools now that will hey, we can clone your voice and insert the first name of each prospect into a video or into an audio file, and then you just repeat the same generic thing to each person. We'll record it once, and then we'll just insert their name so it looks personal. And there's even things where, the video file, you can insert their LinkedIn URL and it'll scroll up and down on their LinkedIn page or their website, so it'll look personal and catch their attention. But I found that often just backfires because, yes, the AI might work and each message might use their name, like, hi, John, hi, Sally, hi, Biff, hi, Fred. But once it gets into the actual message itself where you're talking, there's no way to hyper-personalize each message at scale other than just doing them one at a time. So most of these quote-unquote personalized videos or audios I get on LinkedIn are AI inserting, hi, John Nemo. It's, pretty good quality usually. But then it's just the person with a generic message or pitch. Like, hey, the reason I'm reaching out is blah, 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 blah. It's not, hey, I see you live in Chicago. Are you a Bears fan? Like, that's where it's going to be more personalized. So don't get caught up in that. Don't try to be, too cutesy or clever with it. Take the time to personalize it. Because, again, if you actually personalize your follow-up message, you're not wasting time on this if you know the person has already said yes, they're already interested in what you have going on, what your topic is, all that. So now what happens if you're doing all this personalized follow-up, even audio and video messages, and you're still getting ghosted? So now we're getting down to like, okay, what are my last-ditch tactics here? Because sometimes no matter how hard you try, a prospect simply will ghost you for weeks or even months on end. So if you're at a stage where you've already done, this is, again, a last-ditch piece, I typically don't deploy what I'm about to share unless we're at a stage where we've already talked live, I've got a proposal out, we're very close, or I thought we were very close to moving forward on a project. I wouldn't use this typically for free content just to get them talking unless I'm just kind of tired of it and want to, either move on or cut bait. But again, you got to use your gut feel for this of when you want to do it. For me, I typically roll this out. This is kind of my last-ditch effort. If I've already talked to a prospect live, proposed an offer, and I was waiting for them to say yes or no to, signing up with us. So just all that said, again, it's when you get tired of kind of politely personalizing and chasing for weeks or even months on end, and you want to kind of just go, this is a very aggressive approach. That said, I've seen it work really well as a LinkedIn message or an email. And it's literally one line, okay? And it's just, insert the name, first name. Are you doing this? ? Would appreciate a response. That's it. John, are you doing this? Would appreciate a response. Now, I got that strategy from a guy, of course, on the East Coast. He's in my coaching group. He's amazing. He's from New York, and he's just no nonsense. And I was in a group coaching session, and complaining. He's like, well, here's what I do. If someone's been ghosting me for weeks on end and, we were right at the finish line, I'll just send a one-line email like, hey, are you doing this? Would appreciate a response. I've done that, and it works. Like, people will write back, right? They'll either, they'll say different things, but it'll basically be like, yeah, sorry, I got distracted. I do want to move forward, or, no, I'm not going to move forward. At least I know, like, I can move on with my life. It does make my passive, polite Midwestern self cringe because it feels so aggressive, but it does work. It does generate a response. At least even if you get a no reply, you can move on and, quit spending time chasing them. Now, Chris Voss, again, I've cited him a lot. His book, Never Split the Difference. He's got another one that you can try. Again, if you're already at the finish line or you're just kind of ready to give up on it, so to speak, here's the one-line LinkedIn message or one-line email you can send. Have you given up on us working together? Or you can say it this way: have you given up on this project? Each time you're ending with a question mark, but that's it. Just one line, one question, and nothing else. So have you given up on us working together? Or have you given up on this project? Again, it feels kind of direct and it feels kind of aggressive, but it does work. So that's why I'm pulling it out and explaining it. More often than not, at least you get a response. Now, again, I'm not going to use this approach unless I'm really fed up, kind of frustrated and ready to throw in the towel with the prospect anyway. That way, if they take the message the wrong way and write back a rude reply, and I will say to date, I've never had anyone write back a rude reply, but of course I'm nervous about it because I'm from the Midwest, that you're going to give up on them anyway. So why not just, go with your last ditch shot here? And again, sales really comes down to what fits your personality and your personal brand. So act accordingly. I will say this though, you got to be persistent. And remember that shy salespeople have skinny kids. So you got to keep following up. And again, you get to decide when to give up if the prospect has been ghosting. And those are kind of some last ditch ways to kind of try to, get the, restart the heart or, kickstart the conversation again to at least get them to respond. Because things do happen, and sometimes you will get people saying, yeah, you know what? Thanks for following up. I hear that a lot. Like, hey, thank you for following up. This happened. I got hit by a bus, whatever. I think I told the story earlier, but I literally one time sent that message, and the guy's like, yeah, thanks for following up. I'm really sorry. I had a blood vessel burst in my brain, and I was in the hospital for 90 days. I'm like, oh, my God. Well, okay, that's a pretty valid excuse for not replying to my emails, so you never know.